Do you dance to that?
I should, shouldn't I?
Absolutely, absolutely. Hello, everybody. I am joined today by the lovely Della Hudson. How are you, Della?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks, Ashley.
Oh, it's a while since we've spoken, but we've stayed in touch. I came round to see you donkeys years ago when I was working with Jessica Pillow, wasn't I? So that's a few years ago.
And we were looking at practice management software together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how things have changed. And so you were running a practice then, and you thought, right, that's it. I'm not going to run a practice anymore. So you're going to go and do other stuff. And now you're running a practice again. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how is it all going?
Okay, well, I'm Della Hudson, as the name says, and I've been an accountant for over 30 years. And I absolutely love what I do. It's a perfect job. I get paid to poke my nose into other people's business. So I've worked in practice, worked in industry, set up my own practice, which is where we met. And sorry, that sounds as though we're recounting a love affair or something. It's just friendship.
Gets them all talking, doesn't it?
Scandal.
Absolutely.
And so I got to a stage, I set up the practice to be around for my kids, and then my kids were at an age where they didn't need that anymore, and I was looking towards what I was going to be doing once they'd fled the nest and left home.
That's a while yet, though, isn't it?
18 months.
Oh, really?
I know. Wow. Yeah, they'll both be gone in the next 2 years. If not, I'm going to kick them out anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't work, believe me.
Yeah. So yeah, sold my practice and wrote the book about it, partly to capture everything I'd learned in the process, but also to see if it would help other people as well. And from the reviews I get, it really is. And so I now run courses on it. I do individual coaching on it. And then in lockdown, there were loads of accountants just went AWOL, and just as businesses needed more. So I set up a second practice to... I'm no glutton for punishment.
Okay.
So I was there coaching accountants who were overwhelmed, overworked, over everything, and trying to set up my own small practice just to help out the business owners who were overwhelmed, underworked, or overstressed, whichever. So yeah, challenging times, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, but it must be working, because look at that smile.
Like I say, I love what I do. I love making a difference in people's lives. And, because with an owner-managed business, their business is a big part of their life. You start that business with a dream. And quite often by the time they come to me for coaching, they've something's not quite right. It's gone off the rails somehow. They're working 80-hour weeks, or they're not getting the profits that they think they should for the amount of work they're putting in. And that's where I come along, and I've got that that oversight as well as my experience. And quite often I can look and, that there are a handful of things that just about every business needs. And then we can look into some of the particular things they need as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you speak to accountants who need you because it's all going wrong, right?
Oh, just not going quite as right.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, athletes don't take coaches because they're failing. It's because they
won't want to get better. Yeah. But there's business owners out there that won't take a coach on, and the funny thing is I'm a business coach myself. My first hire was Richard Carpenter, who is my business mentor, and he keeps me grounded and kicks my butt when I need it. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's realizing that, and it's a shame that we only end up talking to people when they're, feeling a little bit low, or like you say, working 80 hours a day, or is it a week? Well, come on, you're accountants, you can work it out, surely.
Too many hours, whatever the number is, it's too many.
Absolutely. So you wrote the book. But then you wrote another one. So it's accounting practice book, accounting practice book. Is that right? Or when was the second book written?
sold the practice, wrote the first book, wrote the second, which, oh no, yeah, looking at the timing, it would have come out after the practice, but actually most of it was written beforehand.
Yeah.
And yeah, the third book is with the publisher now.
A third book. You're a glutton for punishment, aren't you?
It feels like it sometimes. It was one of those things that happened almost accidentally. I only planned to write one, maybe two books, and then just had last Christmas, one of the fintechs asked me to write something on advisory. So I started to write the white paper that they wanted, and just realized I had enough to fill a book. So I've now filled a book on it.
That's fantastic. So when's the book out? Are we allowed to talk about it?
I'm not quite sure on the timescales. I was hoping it would be out in February. I think that may have slipped now, but I need to get a real date. But it's certainly available for pre-order now. I've sold my first few copies.
That must be quite amazing. Quite amazing. Do you know the film Back to the Future?
Yes.
And Dad is trying to write, is into space and stuff, and ends up writing a book. And right at the end of the show, or at the end of the film, they deliver a load of books, don't they? Mm. And did you get that moment when they all turned up?
I did, and I knew from other authors, you video yourself opening your books. Except I was so excited. I watched this film, I thought, that looks fake. So nobody's ever seen that footage because it's so over the top, it looks fake. I was really excited.
Yeah, no, it must be incredible. It must be absolutely incredible. So do you describe yourself as an author now?
I'm never quite sure. So I'm a speaker, an author, and a business coach.
And an accountant, because you're running a business practice.
Yeah, whatever. Yes.
It's like this, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm really lucky on the accountancy side. I've got a really good team who look after all of that, and on the other side of the business, I have a fabulous PA, and the publishers do their thing, and so on. So it's having the right people around you enables you to do all that. But somebody wants me to share the footage.
Absolutely, that would make a great post on LinkedIn. Come on, we need more video on LinkedIn. That would be superb. And everybody now knows that it's not fake because you've told us. So.
Yes, the people who've watched this, and well, the people who aren't watching don't count anyway, do they?
They're not watching. You can actually say what you want about them. So I've been working with accountants for 15 years, as you know, and there's a lot of accountants out there that do need a hand and what have you.
Yeah.
So how did the transition go from running a practice to helping a practice? How did that all work for you?
It was in the writing of the book was to sort of capture what I knew, maybe sell a few copies, and I had lots of people approaching me for coaching. So I started up due to demand, and then I did some online courses with group coaching to make it a bit more affordable for people. So there are now the two options. But yeah, I love it because I used to do the business advice with the muggles, the ordinary business owners, and now I get to do that with accountants and bookkeepers. So I can draw on not just coaching skills, but an element of mentoring, because I've been there and done that, and I know what the 31st of January feels like.
Yeah, I know. So what challenges do you see accountants and bookkeepers having today? No, forget that it's January.
Yes.
Yeah. But at the moment.
I think one that a lot of people are ignoring is MTD, Making Tax Digital. I think that's going to come up and bite people far too soon. So I think people need to be ready. The real problem on that isn't the bigger clients who are all on nice software. with monthly, quarterly management accounts, you'll just press a button, there'll be nothing to it. It's those little ones who just send things in once a year, need complete retraining into a quarterly mentality, preferably a monthly. So there's that to come. And the other one, of course, is the great resignation that's affecting all businesses. So trying to find the right people. And it's very hard because there's a huge churn. I think there's sort of a backlog of resignations from the last 2 years of lockdown and so on. Plus, people have been spending that time reconsidering what they want. And, I set up my own practice in order to get flexible working. And you mentioned somebody else who had as well. And, there are lots of women in particular, some men who've set up their practice just to get that. And yet employers are saying, no, back in the office, 9 to 5. Actually, we'll be generous. You can do 9:30 till 4:30, or maybe till 6:30 if you want to.
So, but we still want you here so we can look over your shoulder.
Yeah, because we don't trust you. You're not
a grown-up
capable of running your own practice should you choose to. You don't have that sort of professional dedication to what you do. We need to be stood there making sure your bum's on the seat, even if you do things in half the time. So yeah, I think employers need to be looking at what's in it for their team other than a pay packet, because we all want to enjoy what we do. If we enjoy what we do, we won't even be looking for jobs elsewhere.
I've been listening to Johan Hari. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was on a podcast with Stephen Bartlett. He's just launching a book, but then I went back and listened to a previous one, and he's talking about depression, and I'm paraphrasing, but about 80% of people are unhappy in their jobs. About 25% hate it and would give up, and about the balance are like that. But if you look at it, it's only a few percent that really love their job and what have you. And so, like you say, the Great Resignation it's across the board everywhere. There's a pub in town, and there's been a sign up since lockdown started: kitchen staff needed. And you sort of like think that's shocking, and why. There are people who are unemployed, and there's other reasons there. But why can't he fill his vacancy? And it might just be somebody to peel some potatoes or whatever. If you've got a business that's helping loads of other businesses and doing loads of sets of accounts and stuff, finding staff is a real nightmare at the moment.
Yeah, and certainly during lockdown, it wasn't so much lockdown, it was the homeschooling that hit a lot of my clients, because they would lose either themselves or their team, who couldn't do much, if any, work because they were supervising littlies. I'm so lucky. Mine are teenagers now. They once I've got them out of bed in the morning.
I was just going to say, teenagers and lucky is a phrase I've never heard.
Mine are okay for the most part, but get them out of bed and they can sort of educate themselves. They'll quite happily do what they're supposed to be doing once they're out of bed. Whereas if you've got little ones, they need so much more input.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're struggling to get staff, and you've got MTD. How can you help them in any of those areas then?
Well, there are a number of things that we can look at. So I'm doing a webinar next week after on how to make sure you've got the right sort of work. So getting rid of the D clients and focusing on how to get better quality clients who, it's the work that hits your sweet spot, and the right fees as well. And then of course we look at how do you actually do your pricing, because it's all very well to stand on the stage and say you must increase your prices, but actually you have to look that client in the eye and tell them you're putting your fees up 20%. And that's a really hard thing to do. And then you have to follow through. And it's quite hard, and it also feels really risky as to how many clients you're going to lose because of fees. And you rarely lose clients purely because of fees. There's usually something else as well. So if everything else is right, you should be okay. But we need to make sure everything else is right. And then so there's so much to it, and making sure that your people are replaceable. Not that you ever want to replace them, but you can cover them for things like this, because there are systems that somebody can pick up and follow. There's automation that frees up your team to do the higher skills stuff, and having the relationship and the communication with your clients as well. So when you are short staffed, you can know where to focus your attention, and also that they will understand that you have this vacancy, because actually they may know the perfect person for you. So there are so many areas you can, but basically look at the numbers business book, and every chapter is something that we can do.
Fantastic. So there's a recipe book there, and if you go when this is finished, if you go into the chat, you can actually put in the link to your webinar, because I'm sure there'll be people who want to come and see that webinar. So if you put that in the chat, that's absolutely fine. And on the Facebook channel and on the YouTube channel, because it's going live all of there. So let people know about that. What's your top tip that accountants and bookkeepers can do right now, Della?
Look after yourselves. It's a busy time. If you look after yourself, you will do so much better for your clients. So stop before your brain wears out tonight and you're coming fresh tomorrow.
I love that. That's why do we have to even think about that? Why does that have to be a thing? But yeah. So all right, so you've got an accountant phones you up, stressed out with this, and this needs doing, and that needs doing. I've got all these tax returns to do, and blah 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 blah. And the first thing you say to them is, just stop, go for a walk, go for a run, whatever it is and how do they take that?
Most of them just haven't even thought about doing anything for themselves. But that that quite often with coaching, we have the privilege of being on the outside looking in, and we can spot these things straight away. They are stressed. They just sit down, have a cup of tea, just relax, chill.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be so much better to approach the real problems without all that sort of background, noise of just stress itself. So let's sort of calm down, and then we can look at it. They have the inside story, we have the external view.
No, I love that is absolutely superb advice. And I go for a walk every lunchtime, and because you just forget everything. It's absolutely superb. I've got a couple of people saying yes, please, in the chat box, because they want your links to your webinar. So make sure you put that in, otherwise you'll have two ladies shouting after you.
I'll put that in. Yeah.
What's the best story that you can tell us about how you've helped an accountant or a bookkeeper?
The best story, the one that made me cry actually was when.
Are these happy tears or sad tears?
Happy tears.
Oh, that's all right then. That's all right. I don't want no Bambi moments on my show.
Yeah, no, we don't go shooting on the show.
Oh, that's all right then.
It was somebody, they'd been really, really stressed through the lockdown. They'd been doing their best. Most of their staff were off either ill or homeschooling. They were trying to just keep things on an even keel, and clients were chasing them. If they didn't get an answer on the phone, they'd email, they didn't email, they text, and so on. So it was just complete overwhelm when they came to me. And then about 3 months later, it was, my wife's noticed I'm singing again. And I just went, ah!
That's lovely. That is lovely. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's not the tax returns or the I don't know what other problems that they have in their business. It's just the fact that they're singing again. And that's why we're here, isn't it? Well, I'm mad into my music. So yeah, highly important. I've got a couple of questions, but I'm very wary of the time. Just want to let everybody know who's coming back next week. If anyone's got any questions for Della, please drop them in. But next week, I have got Dermot Hamblin. I don't know if you know this young man.
Yes.
He's coming in to have a chat with me. Will be interesting because he used to be my boss, so I'll have to be on my best behavior. So I look forward to that. So that'll be next week. So first of all, how can people get hold of you, Della?
Well, Twitter is my second home. I'm Della Hudson FCA. If you prefer LinkedIn, I'm also Della Hudson FCA.
Fantastic. Yeah, you are a big user of Twitter, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing when you work on your own. That's where I have my conversations. I don't have a coffee machine to chat to people, so in between tasks, I'll sort of log in and see what's going on in the world.
Oh, nice. I like that. I love that. That's great. So finally, my last question to you, okay, is when you were at primary school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I always wanted to be a teacher until I reached my teens and realized I just didn't have the patience.
So, but do you not think that some of what you're doing now is actually teaching?
So some of the webinars, the standing on stage, yes, that is. But through uni, I used to teach swimming as well. But when you've got an audience who want to be there on the subject that you love, then it's very different from standing in a classroom teaching every single bit of the national curriculum, the exciting bits and the dull bits alongside each other, and trying to inspire kids who don't want to be there. So yeah, I get to do something I love, and with people who also, for the most part, love doing what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So do something you do something you enjoy, and you'll never work a day in your life, which is absolutely fantastic. Which is why you've got that great big smile. Della Hudson, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to me today, and thank you for everybody for taking part and dropping in comments. We will see you next week. Will I have Dermot? But Della, thank you very much indeed, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, and bye-bye.